Western and Central.
Yeah.
With the Rift Valley, then
Intact.
he would be able to. So when he saw me moving to secure Mudavadi and Wetangula towards our side, I think it really made him angry, and that's when we fell out. And he told me, this is my government with Uhuru. These mambo ya nonsense of Luya unity, I don't want to hear. So that is how the difference started.
Oh, okay.
I got in a lot of trouble. In fact, he told me to hand in my resignation letter.
Who? Ruto?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I went to the president, to State House. I told him, boss, I've been told in a letter, my resignation letter. Kenyans who are being born daily. That is one challenge. If I'm granted the opportunity to lead this country, that is one area I would focus on. As Minister for Water, we mapped out this country. We know which dam needs to be built where. All we need are leaders of integrity who would do not for themselves, lining up their pockets, but do for Kenyans what must be done. Remove Kenya from the shameful list of food insecure nations of the world. And that is what we need to do through irrigation.
How much was lost through Kemorer? Because I've had conflicting figures.
No, you're
I've heard
talking
something
of billions. You're talking of 60 billion.
Mm.
You're talking of 60 billion here, 30 billion there. A lot has been lost through corruption. And there are people who have made money. There are people, I've been a minister in 4 ministries. I've never bought a helicopter. You find a first-time MP with a helicopter. How did you get this helicopter?
Is that Didmas?
You have no, there are many people.
Yeah.
So it's just corruption, and this is one thing we need to deal with. For us to realize our God-given potential as a country, we must deal with the twin evils of corruption and tribalism and the impunity. And I believe these are some of the issues. When the Gen Zs, our young Kenyans, come out to die, they're dying for higher ideals. When we, the politicians, are busy doing deals and sharing positions.
Because the Kimorer, what I normally don't understand is this was supposed to help the people of Rift Valley, if you were to look at it from an ethnic point. So how do you take food away from your people's mouth and still be popular with the same people? How does that work? Does it also mean that the average Kenyan voter is not, I don't know how to put it, but you understand? Like, I can understand stealing from even Galana Kulalu, but something that's going to uplift your people, you should be, because that one collapsed totally, Kimorer.
But that is if you are a patriot. You know, Africa, there's a big difference between a patriot and a profiteer. A profiteer looks at what profit can make from this deal, from that deal, from that deal. There's a very big difference between a leader and a dealer. So the problem is that we have a lot of people who have been doing deals from their days in YK92. The only thing they know how to do is to make deals. And when you look at the regrouping of the former YK, they have actually come back together. And you are hearing of deals after deals. The level of corruption, apart from entrenching tribalism in this administration, RUTO has entrenched corruption. When you look at the G2G deal, Kenya lost billions. When you look at the KNTC, Kenya National Trading Corporation, they took 16 billion taxpayers' money. They said they're going to import these commodities so that we have enough, prices will come down. Instead, prices went higher and the money went into pockets of a few people. What do? They come and arrest a few fellows in dilapidated state corporation. Then they leave the real players who made the money. You look at this hustler fund thing, there's no accountability. It's another, Auditor General has already said, is another big scandal that's cooking. You look at, you have housing levy. You have all this, deals after deals after deals.
Okay, yeah.
That's a problem we have.
Because that dealer leader, it's the same letter.
Yeah.
Yes, it's only the opposite.
No,
Yeah,
no,
But
yeah.
for the voters, they might not tell the difference between a leader and a dealer. But now, unfortunately, in this regime, we are more dealers than leaders.
And the Eurobond thing, how much was lost with that? And is it true that no money ever reached Kenya?
I think that is a riddle that I can't say authoritatively. I know all the details, but time will tell.
Because with that, there was also the rumor that RUTO was involved through Rotich. So,
I'm like I said, I do not have the details. I do not wish to comment on it.
okay. And still, when we stick with Uhuru and Uhuru disregarding court orders, there was the Miguna issue. Was Miguna ever discussed in the cabinet during that time? And why did Uhuru think that Miguna was dangerous enough to keep away from Kenya? Because for most of us, it was like, whether he's around or not, we didn't feel like he was a threat. So we feel like Uhuru made him, bigger than he is or he should have been. So was there any other discussion like, yeah, let's keep this guy?
I think, as you know, I cannot disclose what we discussed in cabinet. But Miguna was never a cabinet issue. I think it was probably mishandled. And I think a lot of Kenyans remember him saying, "I'm not boarding." And they kept asking, why did we have to do this? But later on, I think he came back, and he's free to come back. It's one of those regrettable things, yes, that we cannot say we were very proud of. Yes, no matter what, I think we can agree or disagree without being disagreeable, but Kenya belongs to all of us. And even if however much I disagree with you, I must really defend your right to say what you have to say, even if you disagree with me. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
We should have more tolerant Kenya than that. Yes.
And how was Uhuru when it came to taking advice? Because the few things that I've heard people say is, Ruto never takes advice from anyone. Ruto never listens. Ruto's cabinet is just Ruto who does things. The others are just there to rubber stamp. So how was Uhuru? Was he someone you could tell,
Uhuru is a very good listener. Very good listener. But also, one thing I appreciated about Uhuru is when he sees a good idea, he hears of a good idea, he'll take it up like that. No matter where that idea comes from, even if it is from an opponent or his critic, he would say, I like that. I remember as a young parliamentarian, I once went with 2 bills to National Treasury. I mean, I had filed the bills, and because they had huge implications on the budget and whatnot, so he called me to the National Treasury. One bill was on Retirement Benefits Act amendment, so that younger people could access their benefits earlier in terms of investing, the way it's done in other countries. Here, everything is locked. And the second bill was about, assisting the young people in Kenya to access, opportunities in procurement. What is now called the AGPO Act. That I'm the one who initiated that. And I brought a bill at first proposing that 25% of all our public procurement be reserved for our young people.
Yes.
So of the 2 bills, Uhuru called me and he said, Eugene, I like this bill about the young people because I believe in the empowerment of our young people. This I'm going to support. Even if our wazee might not like it, because they are talking of 10%. Both President Kibaki and Prime Minister Raila said, no, this, we can't allow 25%. We can allow 10% for now. You know what Uhuru told me? He said, we are going to take over. When we do, we will not just reserve 25% for our young people. We're actually going to make it 30%. And I can tell you this today, Uhuru kept his word after he became president. Because I was not in that parliament. But we had legislators, young legislators like Sakaja that we worked with. They took over. And Uhuru kept his word. He actually assented to that bill, creating AGPO, access to government procurement for young people.
Oh, okay.
And this is one area that we have not really focused on, because what are we talking about? We're talking about 200 billion worth of procurement opportunities for our young people. But what we need to do now is to improve on the access in terms of working with the counties to ensure that every county is held to account by the young people to say, okay, this is your budget. First of all, they must participate in the budget making process. The constitution gives them the power. Then to engage the governor to say, this year, what have you set aside for us? Then at the end, they must also be able to tick and say, in this and that, how much went to the young people, to the women, to persons with disability. If we're just able to improve access. In fact, hii mambo ya kusema watu waende kwa mjengo, ati housing, watu waende wabebe, wheelbarrow, if we are able to just empower young people through access to those procurement in every county, and they were able to meet that threshold in every ministry in the national government, if we're able to just crack down on the ministers to ensure young people are given those opportunities, you will see an empowered youth population in our country. You will see empowered women and persons with disabilities. So in terms of Uhuru listening, he's a good listener. But better still, in terms of picking ideas, that is one area I worked with him and I could see. But also when he disagreed with you, with an idea, he would also call you and tell you. Aliniambia hii ya wazee, wachana nayo kwa sasa. Hii ya amend the Retirement Benefits Act. And I dropped it. Something came up on GMO. I think, was it RUTO who had raised it? When he would say, no, hii mambo ya GMO. Not in my he refused mambo ya GMO. So nyinyi mkiunda serikali yenu mumlete mambo ya GMO. And surely one of the first approvals that were made by the Ruto regime was GMO. But Uhuru would listen, but he would also be upfront with you when he liked your idea and also when he disagreed with it. So I think that is one difference I saw. And when Uhuru gave you a ministry to run, he would allow you to run the ministry. He would never interfere. And this is one thing I saw with Kibaki also. When Kibaki gave you a ministry to run, he would allow you to run your ministry. He would never interfere. But the current regime, I think we see a lot of micromanaging. This is one of the issues that have become very self-evident. Yes.
Okay. And so when we talk about the Uhuru regime, of course, we talk about the infamous, we lose 2 billion shillings daily.
Yes.
How true was that? And why did he feel powerless?
I think, as I've said, if we were to tighten or seal the loopholes, we lose almost a third of our budget to just corruption. So if you're talking of 30% of 3 trillion or 4 trillion, that's a lot of money. If you are to divide that, it will come down to almost 2 billion that we are losing.
And why can't a president stop it? Because I'm thinking.
Yes, it's not about the president. It's about Kenya as a country saying no to corruption. And it's a culture we must inculcate in our people, because through successive regimes, corruption has become almost a normal thing. Yani wanasema hii mali ya umma ni mali ya kuuma. Kila mtu anauma tu. So mali ya umma ni mali ya kuuma. It shouldn't be that way. It should be mali ya umma ni mali ya umma wa Kenya, sio ya kuuma na unaenda nayo. We must guard it for the people of Kenya.
Yeah.
And we must declare any corrupt individual an enemy of the people of Kenya. We need to strengthen our laws against corruption and tighten in terms of control, and also give more teeth to the institutions. Like the EACC has been talking about being given prosecutorial powers.
Yeah.
Of course, there are a lot of people who are opposed to that, but going into the future, we need to see how to strengthen EACC, we need to strengthen DCI, we need to strengthen all our institutions and respect and uphold our constitution. That's all we need to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the infamous Samsung story, I don't know if you've ever heard it. The Samsung was supposed to start, was it an assembly plant here in Kenya?
Yes.
But then one of the CSs wanted a bribe, I think of 10 billion shillings. And then Samsung were like, no, we can't do that. And that's how we ended up losing on that. And if that's true, how many lives could have changed with Samsung just being here? And
I think that is just going back to the story of corruption. That has been.
So is there any truth to that? Samsung?
Yes, there is a lot of truth. And it's not just Samsung. We've lost a lot of investors who have gone to other countries because they've come here and been asked ridiculous amounts of money. Just recently, America censored Kenya in spite of RUTO being their blue-eyed boy.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember in May, just as he was preparing to go to Washington, there was a high-powered American delegation and a very senior American official in the State Department of Trade. They issued a statement and said, when RUTO and his government have to stop this corruption because they were making very unrealistic demands on investors. People demanding for, bribes before this is done, before that is done. To me, that was a very strong indictment on this current administration. So, unless we're able to check that, we'll continue losing investors to other countries, and also the issue of the tax regime that is very unpredictable. You change this today, you change that tomorrow. I mean, a lot of investors will just go away, go to Rwanda and other areas where the environment is more conducive. So that taxation regime, that unstable policy environment and corruption is costing Kenya a lot in terms of investments. Yes.
Okay. And because talking of that, I want us to talk about what happened before this government of national unity. But like one of the things I remember I saw when the new nominees were put out there, is Ken Mijungu made a joke and said that Mbadi is going to notice that he cannot get access to the president unless he goes through Farouk Kibet. So during Uhuru's time, there was no Farouk. There was no someone who was so powerful and not powerful at the same time. Because I've even seen footage of Farouk in a military plane. So I don't know how true that is.
I think to be fair to Farouk, right? Because I know Farouk.
Yeah.
Like I said, when we started this journey, we started together with RUTO and Uhuru. And actually, Farouk is a very nice guy. He's a guy who hasn't gone to school much. He doesn't have those diplomas and degrees and masters and whatever, but he's a very sharp guy.
Okay.
Ile unasikia akili ya kuzaliwa. He's a very smart guy, but also he's a very loyal guy. He's been very loyal to William from the days when I think he was a councillor in Eldred.
Yeah.
And they've stayed together with William when he was the Eldred North MP, and through the ministries up to where he's gotten. And we worked together with him very closely, with RUTO as deputy. So I think in every regime, there will always be a Farouk.
Okay.
The president's man, the president's shadow, the confidant. I think that is what Farouk is. And you cannot say you can eliminate such people in any administration. Yeah, every president would have his wingman.
Okay, but now the question would be, why are the president's men mostly questionable education? Because we had, I don't know if you saw Sudi on Obina's show, and he
Yes.
was there like, masomo, yani mtu a degree. Like he made a degree look like something someone should be ashamed of. That's it.
Yes.
So why do you feel like the president loves surrounding himself with, because you can be street smart,
I
but
think it is just not about education. It's about loyalty. In politics,
loyalty is everything.
I think loyalty counts because these are fellows who can make or break you, and these are fellows who can also be used against. I mean, you have many presidents who have been killed by their very close assistants, bodyguards. So, I think when it comes to Ruto and Farouk, I think they go way back.
Yeah.
Wametoka mbali, and it's not so much education. It's about loyalty. It's about delivery. It's about agility. And I think give it to him. He's a good organizer, good mobilizer, and he's also a strategist.
Okay. Oh, Farouk.
Yes, and he would. He's also very upfront. He would tell you. He speak his mind, even to Ruto. Even there are times they would disagree, but hey, boss, up.
Oh, okay.
He will
okay.
tell you
okay.
as it is. So I think it's much more than education when it comes to real politics.
Okay, that makes sense. And because you've talked about telling Ruto the truth, this infamous story that Ruto at some point wanted to slap Uhuru, how true is it? After
Yes,
the 2017
it's true.
elections?
And he said it himself. He
So,
said it himself.
What was happening?
Because I think there was a time Uhuru almost gave up. And Ruto...
This is after the 2017 elections.
Yes, and Ruto said it himself after the Court of Appeal, throughout the, Uhuru was furious, actually.
The Supreme Court.
Yes, he was furious. Yes, and I think Ruto said it himself that, I almost slapped him, and I think that is one thing that came from his mouth. I don't think it's propaganda.
Oh, okay. And then now, the protest happened. So, June 25th, where were you when these Gen Z protests were happening? Because I feel like June 25th will go down as the day of the protest, like in history. Like this was the biggest protest.
Yes.
This is the time where Kenyans were able to access parliament. MPs had to run through the underground tunnel that we didn't even know existed as civilians.
Yes.
And the president came in the evening. He was super angry, but then by the next day he'd changed his mind. So where were you on 25th? And how did you witness it?
I was in Nairobi, and I saw it on television. And I saw the build-up towards the March on Parliament.
Yeah.
Then that hour came when it was announced that they had forced the finance bill 2024 through, and it had been passed. I think when word got out that the people of Kenya were outside Parliament and they were protesting against the bill, and in spite of the numbers that had gathered, the members of Parliament defied them and arrogantly went on to pass the bill. Mupende, musipende.
Yeah.
I think that was the trigger. When word got out, I think that was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Before they broke the gates, before they breached Parliament. After that, all hell broke loose. Then we saw the snipers.
Yes.
There were people hooded. There were people in civilian. There were people with very big guns who went on their knees, aimed and shot the young people. They blew out their brains. We saw them bleeding. And I think that hour, that day, will never be forgotten in the history of our country.
Yeah.
Yes. But it also shows that if you push the people to a point when they say enough is enough, that is when we lose control. And when the people marched into that parliament and they symbolically took the mess, they had taken back their authority that they had given that parliament. To me, that amounted to a vote of no confidence in this parliament and in this administration. I listened to parliamentarians speak after they came back, and one person who really eloquently put this issue was Senator Ososi. He said blood was shed in this august house. This house needs cleansing. Mr. Speaker, this house needs resetting. Where I agree with him is the cleansing part, the reset button part. But we say Parliament cannot cleanse itself. And Parliament cannot reset itself. It's only the people who elected this Parliament and who walked into Parliament and took away the mess and the authority. It's only them, through an election, who can press the reset button and give us a new Parliament they have confidence in. The reset button, give us a new president and a new administration they have confidence in. It's only through a fresh election that we can cleanse this Parliament and this administration. It's not through sharing power or getting a few of us in to stabilize the government. It's not through a political deal to gang up as a political class against the Gen Zs, against the millennials, the majority of Kenyans who are saying RUTO must go. And now we are saying we've got you, RUTO, we have assisted you, RUTO must stay. We cannot stand in the way of the people, the way of a revolution. The revolution will sweep you aside, will sweep you away into the annals of history. And history is a very harsh judge. History will ask, when this happened, were you in Kenya? Where did you stand? Did you stand with the Gen Zs, with the millennials, and the people who say RUTO must go? Or did you stand with Zakayo? To me, as EUGENE WAMALWA, and my house of the Democratic Action Party of Kenya, we say we stand with the Gen Z, we stand with the millennial, we stand with the people, majority of whom are saying RUTO must go. And if he goes, we're not saying, because there are those who are saying, if RUTO goes now, Gachagua takes over. No. In fact, those talking about impeachment, it should be in fact, the impeachment has already taken place. It took place on the 25th of June, 2024. So this administration, this parliament already stands impeached. And impeachment is of the presidency and the entire administration. So both RUTO and Gachagua must go. Wetangula and his parliament must go. Then we go back to the people. The constitution provides that within 60 days we have an election. And we seek a fresh mandate from the people. It's the only way we can cleanse and press the reset button for a new Kenya, and we open a new chapter.
And as Azimio, did you make calls that day? Like, were you also surprised as politicians? Like, damn, because that had never happened in Kenya. We'd never seen civilians just be like, enough is enough. We are going into parliament. So as Azimio, kulikuwa na calls ama hakunaga hiyo kama politicians? Because even for us, we were in the middle of town when we had, because tulikuwa tunaenda kuprotest. Tukasikia
Onyini majenzi pia sio.
Tukasikia watu wamebreach parliament. Mi si Gen Z lakini tulikuwa
millennial.
So when that happened, we left town immediately. But it shows you how much that was so as politicians mlikuwa unapigiana simu.
Tulipigana sote tulishtuka. First of all, hatukujua nini kinaendelea. Then when we saw a young man sitting in the speaker's seat, we knew that this government had fallen. And when the finance bill 2023 fell, and the finance bill 2024 fell, this government fell.
Yeah.
What Musalia Mudavadi said is an honest man. When a finance bill falls, a government falls, it amounts to a vote of no confidence in that government. This is what has happened. So us going to assist Ruto now doesn't change anything. In the eyes and minds and hearts of Kenyan people, they have said Ruto must go. And it's a matter of time. You can kill as many as you want, you can do whatever. But what you asked me about Bangladesh can happen in Kenya. It can happen anywhere in the world. Because power rests with the people.
Did Raila consult with you guys in any way? Ama nyi mulishtukia tu akina Mbadi wako
No, hiyo tulishtuka tu hatukujua.
Hakuwa na consultants ile hata courtesy call ya
Otherwise,
by the way Eugene naweza taka urudi hapa.
Otherwise amungesikia tukipinga. Simulisikia tukipinga. So it's only one party in Azimio that entered a deal with Ruto, and that party is ODM. And the leader Raila Odinga, and he has been, I think, in Kibra yesterday. It's the first time he has talked about it. Hatukujua walikaa wapi, hatukujua walisikizana vipi, lakini sisi tumemwambia na tulikutana naye tukamwambia we are standing with Kenyans who are saying Ruto must go. If you want to go with ODM into government, mumushikilie museme Ruto must stay, then you make that decision on your own. We're not party to it. We have taken a position as DAP Kenya. Our NEC has already made a decision. The Wiper NEC has also done it. You've heard from Kalonzo Musyoka. NAC Kenya did the same. Jubilee did the same. And just 2 days ago, PNU, we attended his NEC meeting, and they also made that decision. So it is an ODM, actually UDA deal. I'm sure even the other partners don't know what happened. It's between two people. And in fact, not the entire ODM. In fact, some of our friends in ODM, some didn't know what had happened. Because they are our friends. They are equally shocked. But there are those in top leadership, I think, who entered the deal.
No.
But it is their right to do so. We respect their right, but we don't agree with them. On this, we are ready to part ways. Yes.
Okay, and now if you part ways, two questions come up. Hamjanza campaign, yes, as the new Azimio or whatever mtajiita. Ruto unasema alipanda juu ya gari 2018 akianza campaign for 2022. So what's the probability of winning? Because there's also the belief in Africa incumbents don't lose. And then the other question would be, maybe before we answer that, how was the 2022 elections lost? Why do you feel? Because you are part of Azimio, yes?
Yes.
How did you guys lose that?
I think you remember the famous soccer player Maradona, who after winning the World Cup, and he was asked whether that was a handball or not. And then he said, no, it was the hand of God.
Yeah.
In this one, it was not the hand of God. It was the hand of Chebukati. Chebukati assisted Ruto, and that's how they got it. We know that the Supreme Court made a ruling on the matter. But even as we speak, more evidence is coming up to show what could have happened. We are getting to learn about non-existent polling stations that were used. There's so much more that we are getting to know now. But when you look at our law, particularly coming to elections, it gives a very limited time for you to file the presidential petition, within which, and you know, most of the evidence is in the custody of IEBC. So the petitioner is really disadvantaged in terms of within the constraints of time and space and access to evidence, and it is quite a challenge. But we have agreed to say let's move on and prepare for 2027. I believe it will not be just about an individual or this party or that community. I believe the wave that is going across this country today, the Gen Z wave, cannot be belittled. The manner in which they are saying, there are those who transported these kids sijui 20,000 were moved in, sijui from where they were given
Ford
money.
Foundation.
Ford, and then mara they say it's Ford Foundation. Kidogo they say sijui it's Uhuru, sijui Gashagwa, wanasema sijui the opposition, sijui the Russians. Sijui kama mnakumbuka hii song ilikuwa ya Milli Vanilli. Blame it on the rain. Blame it on the stars. But whatever you do, don't blame it on me. Ruta started sounding like Milli Vanilli akiimba hiyo song. Yani blame it kwa kila mtu, lakini sio yeye. We've told him it's not about who is behind the Gen Zs. It is what. You know, the day he starts addressing the issues, instead of the shadow boxing and the witch hunt that he has embarked on, sijui anatafuta nani. How a Gen Z have raised specific issues. And you can see they are not driven by money. They have not been bought or sent or transported. Hawa ni watu wa kujituma, and it's out of conviction. They believe they have higher ideals they are fighting to free our country from corruption, from tribalism, from impunity. They are freedom fighters, just like the young Turks of the 90s when they were fighting for second liberation. And even the young people like Dedan Kimathi. These were Gen Zs of those days. They were very young when they went to the forest to free this land of the colonial yoke. So I think the day we start treating the Gen Zs as revolutionaries, as freedom fighters, and we start addressing the issues, is the day we start resolving this issue. Otherwise, up to now, Ruto doesn't get it. And I don't think he will get it soon. Yes, they think they can use force and use the political manipulation to stop this. They have to get to the root cause of this. They have to address the issues raised and not personalities.
But then there are other Gen Zs who are saying the political class is the political class. I think there's this lady, I don't know if you know her name, she's called Muthoni Drama Queen.
Yes.
Muthoni Drama Queen said that according to her, we need an overhaul of the whole system. That means that we need politicians who never run before. So even like Eugene WAMALWA, you also put there like nyinyi wote mwende, we get a new breed. How would you defend yourself and say I'm different, I'm not? Because like people thought Baba was different, then they saw him joining the government after how many people had been shot. Like it was still very fresh in our minds.
Yes.
Yeah. So what makes you different? And what makes maybe Mathakarua or Kalonzo, like the people you've stayed with, what makes them different?
I think it should not be the name of a person or the age of a person or the religion or even the region he comes from. It should be the content of his or her character. It should be about the integrity of that leader. To me, that should be the taste. And anyone we want to support to become our next president after Ruto must be subjected to serious public scrutiny. To know, first of all, that he has the qualifications, that he has the capacity, that he has the integrity, and that he has a track record that we can look at and say, this is the kind of leader that we want. To say that we do away with all the politicians and just have fresh young people to lead the country is also being unrealistic. To remove Kanu and Moi from power after 40 years, those who started the revolution, the second liberation, were young Turks. They were the Gen Zs of those days. But they realized kutoa Moi haitakuwa rahisi. They realized they needed all hands on deck to remove Moi. And that is why the young Turks reached out to the seasoned politicians and they went and looked for Jaramogi. They went and looked for Masinde Muliro. They looked for Matiba. They looked for Kibaki. These were the old guard. And Waswahili wanasema ya kwamba kidole kimoja hakiui chawa. So utahitaji vidole viwili. We need that Gen Z and the political seasoned leadership to come together ndio tuwe hii chawa. Otherwise, they've done so much on their own. So far, we're really proud of them. But going forward, to win this, you've won a few battles, but you've not won the war. And to win the war against Ruto, it will take more than the Gen Zs. It will take what I like, I've started hearing Gen Zote, Generation Zote.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, we need a Gen Zote too. We need an all hands on deck approach. This is just my appeal.
Yeah.
But for me, I have presidential ambitions. I would like to be president of this republic. I would like my record to be scrutinized, subjected to scrutiny in terms of integrity, in terms of my record, corruption scandals, and whatever, to know whether I qualify or not. But I do not have to be the one. If there's someone better qualified. The other day I was on, I went to space and they asked me if I would be ready to support a younger leader. I said, of course. If there's someone more qualified than EUGENE WAMALWA, someone who has the confidence of all Kenyans, I wouldn't hesitate to support that person. Whether that person was younger or older than me. But the person should be a person of integrity, a person who has a clear vision for Kenya and who qualifies to be president. So I'm prepared. But I would urge that we take an all hands on deck approach. For now, most of the demos, we have been told, you politicians are all the same. You politicians want to hijack our thing. That's why you've seen us stay in the background.
Yeah.
And we're not just in the background. We're saying we support. We have given so far moral support. And where some have been taken in, we've sent lawyers to assist. We've sent some of our members of parliament. People like PK Salasia of DAP Kenya has been there with the Gen Zs. Someone like Babo Wino has been there, going to the stations to try and... We've sent our lawyers, KNHS, all this to support. But as to whether they want us on the streets with them for the remaining journey, it's them now to make up their minds, to realize that to win this, we need an all hands on deck approach. We need not just Gen Z, but Gen Zote. If that day comes and you call upon EUGENE WAMALWA, I will stand with you and I will fight with you.
Okay. Oh, this is the funny thing. I've always assumed Salasia was an ODM member. He's a DAPK?
No. Salasia is a DAPK member. He's the youngest MP of my party and the youngest from our region, and one of the youngest MPs in this parliament. And he's a great supporter of the Gen Z movement. Yeah, he's a millennial himself, but he's a Gen Z at heart.
So the question, of course, one of the controversies has been the net worth of a lot of these cabinet secretaries. So, as a cabinet secretary, your net worth? Because, what's his name? Joho told us even he has 249 shillings at the end of the billion. So,
I think I'm on record having already been vetted as a cabinet secretary, and I'm on record having shown my properties.
What was the value before when you are vetted first?
I think the final vetting, my net worth was about 450 million.
And by the time you left?
No, that is where...
okay. Because we know, like, when people join the cabinet, your net worth grows exponentially.
Yes, but that is in the public domain. Yes.
And now the question would be, like, why are politicians this rich? Because this is the one country where, because you're classified as rich. That's rich, that's worth over $3.5 million, yes?
Yes.
So, did you make this money through law? Because I've seen a lot of lawyers and they have a lot of money.
Yes.
Or did you make this through government?
So I'm a lawyer, and I've been a lawyer for 20 years. And I've had the privilege of practicing in our local courts and internationally. And one of the biggest cases I handled was that of President Yoweri Museveni. He had this petition.
Here in Kenya?
No, in Uganda.
Oh, in Uganda.
Yes,
Okay.
before the Uganda Supreme Court. And I can tell you he paid us very handsomely.
It was which case? Which case
Against Kiza Besije. It was the first election petition in Uganda.
So you went in as a Kenyan lawyer?
Yes, as a Kenyan lawyer with Dr. Haminwa. And we teamed up with a team of Ugandan lawyers. You know, for a long time, Ugandans had resolved their issues through the barrel of the gun.
Yeah.
They never used their courts. So after they got their new constitution, this time they said, we'll go to court. We'll not use the gun. And because for many years they hadn't practiced these election petitions, so they reached out to us in Kenya, and we were able to go there with Dr. John Haminwa, and we represent President Museveni successfully.
Which year is this?
That was in 2001. And so as a lawyer, I wouldn't say I'm poor. And apart from my legal practice, I'm a farmer also. And I do other things.
Yeah.
So, yes. So I would say politics, I think we made it expensive. Because when you run for parliament or you run for presidency, just the logistics that go into it has made our politics too expensive. But I think that needs to change.
Okay.
Because that also came with the Nyayo era when there was a lot of corruption and a lot of voter buying. You know, it's what made our politics expensive. But when you look at the politics before that, people, like Martin Shkuku, never used to use money. But now, like here in Nairobi, you want to be governor of Nairobi, you have to be loaded to even go into this race here.
Yeah.
So, but with time now, I think once we tame this genie of corruption, I think it could also change our politics.
Okay.
So that we can get young people getting into positions of leadership. We must not have leadership positions being a preserve of the old and the rich. Yes, this is what we need to change. I think this is part of the agenda that the Gen Z should be pushing. So that going into the next election, we must mobilize voter registration. And we can get all these young people going to get IDs, going to get voters' cards. They themselves can actually decide who the MP should be because they're the majority.
Yeah.
Then we can actually change our politics. So that it's not about how much you have in your pocket, most of which is stolen wealth.
Yeah.
It should be about what you stand for, what you're going to do for the people of your ward, of your constituency, of your county, and your country.
Okay.
What you stand for.
Because there's something I tweeted last week, and I was telling people that this is my most retweeted post ever. Because I was saying that after someone declares their wealth, there needs to be some sort of evidence, some sort of backing through their tax returns. So if we are to get to that level where every time you're vetted, your tax records are looked at, your net worth would be validated, the 415 million, can it be validated through taxes you've paid over the years?
Yes, I think I'm up to date. Yes.
Tutapata ati last year 0 returns after I lost my employment. After I lost my employment, 0 returns.
You know, things didn't work out well.
Okay. And then there's another thing that I said. When the issue of IDs being charged came up, I was on this seat and I said, I feel like the Kenyan opposition is so blind that they can't see that this is an election issue. And what I was saying was, the government is charging for IDs, but when we get to that time for elections, what's going to happen is there's going to be some regions where people get free IDs, and there's going to be some regions where people pay. Why hasn't anyone challenged this ID thing in court? Like, why are we paying for IDs? You know, we are Kenyans. Why are our IDs expiring? We are Kenyans.
I think there should be a case pending. If not, I'll talk to my friend Kio Mtata. Because apart from paying for those IDs, the issue of expiry dates on the IDs, this was an issue that has been introduced that needs to be dealt with. So I think you're right. It's something that needs to be looked into. And being a Kenyan has become very expensive. You know, when you look at what the Kenya Kwanza regime has done, you know, right from birth, the birth certificate, to your teenagehood, to becoming a citizen, the idea what you have to pay for, to marriage, that marriage certificate and what goes into it. All the way, you know, from cradle to grave, being a Kenyan is very expensive under Kenya Kwanza. These are things that should be entitlements of every citizen. We should not make it too expensive or too difficult for you to be a citizen of Kenya. But our friends just keep, since they came with this bottom-up thing, everything is just from bottom upwards, from birth to death, until you go up to heaven. Yes.
Okay. And then, when we were talking about your net worth, and also, you remember when you said you have to judge your character, there was another controversy around you, and the controversy was that after your brother died, was it you took part of his property and denied his kids? There was a property
I've heard about that. I've heard about that, but it's totally twisted in terms of truth. It's not true. When my brother died, I was actually his lawyer. And I had, apart from managing his election campaigns, we were very close. I was a lawyer in the family, so I used to do a lot in terms of handling his legal issues, the properties he purchased, and his estate. And I used to work with Dr. John Hamino. As I said, we've been very close.
Okay.
And when this matter came up, I think it started with the matter of the briefcase. When my brother died, I was with him in London. I stayed with him during, you know, his treatment at the Royal Free Hospital in London. So after he died, we came back. Then there was talk of money being in the briefcase. There was talk of succession and a lot of stories. But, you know, all those were managed. Eventually, his estate, of course, the matter went to court. He had 5 children, the youngest being Chichi. This one was the one he got with his late wife, Yvonne.
Okay.
So the issue arose as to how they would then share the estate. So these are matters in court. And when the matter went to court, I had to get another, after my brother died. Now, I could not act for these children or against those children. So I had to pull back and hand over the case now to another lawyer. And my position, apart from being the family lawyer, was also the uncle who was closest to Mike. And my position to the lawyer was that these are all Mike's children. They must be treated equally, and they must share the estate of their father equally. So that is what caused the problem, because the younger one felt I had taken, you know, sides with the others, and they issued some statements about me, and you know, which were not true, because I have my own estate, I have my own property. This was my brother's estate. So what I did, I pulled back, and I handed over the matter to the lawyer. So a lot of my political opponents keep using that clip of, you know, the children who are fighting. Because when they issued that statement, the younger one, the elders, they formed and also issued another statement. But what they do is that they only use the one of the younger one. They never use the one of the older children who came out to clarify that, you know, Uncle Eugene has nothing, no interest in this estate. It is about us sharing the estate amongst ourselves. And the matter went to court, and the Justice Muchelule issued a ruling on the matter. And his position was that all the children and all beneficiaries should share the estate equally.
Okay.
So as we speak, the matter is, I think there was an appeal. So we are waiting for that appeal to come out. And for me, my only interest would be that no child of my brother is disinherited. They all get their rightful share of their father's estate. That's the only interest I have in the matter. not in my brother's property or estate. I
How-
have my own.
How big was the estate? How much was it worth?
Well, I think the biggest was the property in Nairobi, which is about 500 million or so.
Okay.
Then the properties in Kitale, the houses and the farms. I think that would come to almost 200 million or so.
Okay.
So the fight was really on the Nairobi property that was claimed by one against the others because it is the biggest part of the estate. So if that went to one, then the others will be disinherited. They have very little to share amongst themselves. So that was the only interest I had in the matter for an equitable share of that estate. I believe once the Court of Appeal makes a ruling, I'll be vindicated. So for my opponents who have been dragging my name through the mud that, you stole your brother's children's property, you didn't know it's the property of my late brother is an estate protected by the law. Go to the court and find out. As for Amala Kijana's estate case, it's an open file and they'll get the truth there. So they should not drag my name into it.
But this is now 20 years later. So
Yes,
this case
yes, yes. But of
has
course,
dragged on.
you know the way it works in politics. When someone wants to attack you, they try to look for any dirt. So there's been a lot of mudslinging. Throw this at you, throw that. But I'm happy. I've never talked about it. I've never found the need to defend myself because the truth will come out. And like the Bible says, for the truth shall set you free. When the Court of Appeal rules, everybody would know that the estate of WAMALWA comprises this and that property. The beneficiaries of the estate are so and so, and the shares are this much. They will never find EUGENE WAMALWA's name there as a beneficiary or any property that was lost to him or taken by him. So the truth will come out. Yes.
Okay. And so by the time she was passing away, how was your relationship with your sister-in-law?
No, it was very okay. It was very okay. And the day she passed on, she was in Nanyuki. I was alerted that we brought her body to Nairobi. And we had a very beautiful service for her at Consolata Shrine. And we went and buried a home besides my brother. Yes, we had a good relationship. Of course, there had been challenges during the funeral, of course, but we managed to sort out the issues. And whatever issues remain are all legal matters that I can't do much about.
Okay.
But there are those who blame me, you are not doing this for the children. They are all adults. They are all over 20. They are all entitled to their shares according to the laws of Kenya. And the succession laws are very, very clear in Kenya. So I cannot interfere or favor or disinherit any one of them. I only want them to have their rightful shares of their father's estate. I will be very happy when that matter rests because it has really been used to soil my name. Yes.
And also, do they look at the other side where a legal case that has dragged on for 20 years, the lawyer must be smiling, like the lawyers must be smiling, so they are going to take a very big chunk of the estate again. So like
yes,
you'd rather
we had tried.
it.
We had tried to bring them together. It's a matter that could easily have been settled, but of course they did not. They disagreed. So that is how we now left it to the lawyers to pursue it legally. But as the uncles, we tried. And in fact, there's a time they got an injunction against us to stop it. So we said, okay, let's leave it to the lawyers. So let the law take its course. I believe in the matter of my late brother's estate, justice will be done. And we will be vindicated. So my political opponents, tafuta kitu ingine.
So kama ni nyumba, kuna mtu anaishi kwa hiyo nyumba saizi? Ama ni
Yes.
one of them?
Yes.
Oh, see,
That is where Yvonne stayed with Chichi and Derek, the younger ones. Then the older ones have their own apartments. Yes.
Oh,
and Jabali is in Copenhagen. He's married and he's working in Copenhagen, in Denmark.
Oh, so maybe Nile, so I'm gonna find us keepers. Since I think maybe that's the So as we finish up, there's the issue of at some point people believed Ruto was a one-term president, yes, for a very long time, and then he pulled this chess move with Raila, But before that, I have to ask you. There's this news that I just saw. It was that the Mobius Motors Kenya Limited is closing down.
Yes.
So why do you think this has happened? Why can't Kenya assembly plants, why don't they survive in this country of ours? What's wrong?
I think it's really a matter of having a conducive environment. And one thing that puts off investors would be any instability, either in terms of the stability of the country, the security of the country, or the stability in the policy, particularly the taxation regime. If there's no stability, very many investors would find that environment not, and generally creating a conducive environment for investors. Matters corruption, or demanding this and the shares in anyone coming to invest, or some kickbacks before they're allowed to. So these are all matters that inhibit the coming of investors into our country and the boosting of our foreign direct investments in our country. So we would reflect on what Uhuru did. He went out, whenever he would move out, he would encourage investors to come. You remember the VW assembling and the Peugeot, when in France, he reached out. And so we need to create incentives. Instead of creating an environment that puts off investors, we must start asking ourselves, why is Kagame wooing more investors to Kigali? What is it that he's doing right that is attracting more investors there and not in Nairobi? Then we can start correcting what we're doing. So it's not just Mobius. I think when you go to Nakuru, we've lost a lot of investors there. I think there was a time, was it this battery company, what was it called? You go to Nakuru and you see people moving out. It affects our economy, and it's something that needs to be done.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So did Ruto pull a chess move on all of you? Because people are saying...
I think he's a smart politician. Give it to him. I remember when Uhuru reached out to Raila. Then Kina Mudavadi was saying they didn't know. Both Mudavadi, Weta, and even Kalonzo, they didn't know that the deal was going down until they saw him at Harambee House with Uhuru during the handshake. Then Kina Musalia was saying that, in NASA, we were trying to NASA Uhuru. Now Uhuru has NASA'd us. Uhuru has NASA'd Baba. I think Ruto is following their footsteps. I can say he's a smart politician. But as to the future, particularly to the new generation, the Gen Zs, the millennials, I believe history will judge us very harshly if we stood in their way and the change they desire, the Kenya they want, a corruption-free Kenya, a tribeless Kenya. If we are going to stand in their way, I think the harshest judge of all time, history, shall judge us very, very harshly. I think that is all I can say as I conclude. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So you don't... no, I need a clear answer. Do you think you stand a chance against an incumbent? And
Yes.
This is with the fact that we don't have a new IBC.
Yes.
And if we end up with a new IBC, we might end up with a new... Because if he was out of the system and he was controlling Chebukati,
Yes.
what stops him from controlling the new Chebukati? Understand? And as the fact that as the opposition, you've not started campaigning, we don't know who will run against Ruto.
Yes.
Do you give yourselves a chance? Or?
Yes, we do. I think out of what Ruto has tried to do is to really burn the opposition house to the ground.
Yeah.
He started by cannibalizing, and now I think he's gone all out to burn it down. But I believe out of these ashes, a new coalition is going to arise, just like the proverbial phoenix rising from the ashes. And that is the coalition that is going to drive William Ruto and all his friends home, and some of them into retirement. I believe that day is coming. I believe, as I have said, if the Gen Z can see the sense and change their approach to know who their friends are and who their enemies are, and they realize that we are all on the same side, and that we need a new coalition that is truly broad-based, that will bring all Kenyans together against Zakayo and his cronies. And instead of just a Gen Z, so far we've had a Gen Z-led revolution. But what we need is a Gen Zote coalition that can come together and send Zakayo home, tumshukishe once and for all, na akikatalia huko na marafiki zake tukate mti tuangushe wote. That day is coming. It is possible.
Ye na marafiki zake kuna swali uliuliza, so hiyo ndo swali nenda kuuliza mwisho. So is opposition in government or is government in opposition? What's happening?
I think we have a mongrel, and we have lost our bearings as the opposition. We must tell Kenyans the truth, and we need to press the reset button. We need to reset, go back to the drawing board, and start afresh. I think that is the way to go, and we are prepared to do this. And we will reach out to all Kenyans who are like-minded, who believe and still stand by the clarion call of the Gen Z that Ruto must go. If we stand together, Ruto will sugoi. Ruto is sugoing.
He's sugoing.
He is sugoing if we stand together. For those who are standing with him and who are saying Ruto must stay, we will stand together against them to say, Ninyi na Ruto, you are sugoing. Asante sana.
So imekuwa ni episode 340 and thank you. This is the funny thing. I've tried to invite a few Azimio people hapa na wameogopa sana, so it's good that umekuja.
Tunaogopa majenzi sana. Sababu tunaambiwa hamtaki sisi wanasiasa. Last week was my first time to go in space. Nilikuwa na pressure sana. Lakini at least they listened to me. Wamenialika tena kesho. So this engagement is healthy.
That's good.
Na nimefurahi sana umenipa chance hapa nikuje pia niseme Iko Nini. Iko Nini.
Yes. Hapa inakujaga.
Iko Nini.
Plus, he's also been honest in once he felt like they failed as a government. Said that we were wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, that takes...
Thank you.
Yeah, that takes a certain level of, being brave.
Yes.
To admit, because other people would say, no, we were a perfect government, we were this, we were this. So Uhuru is not funding this protest? Because since you know Uhuru very well. First it was the Ford Foundation, then it was Uhuru, then it was...
Then Gashagwa.
Yeah. So Uhuru is not involved?
Russia. Then, no, Uhuru is not involved.
And
as
Putin,
I've said, the Russians are not involved.
Putin is not involved.
The opposition is not involved. Putin is not involved.
Yeah.
Hawa ni Gen Z wakati wao umekuja. And I think we must accept this. We are the ones who failed them, and that is why they came out. And like they say, there's nothing as powerful as an idea whose time has come.
And when's the last time you spoke to Ruto? Because I know there's another story you once gave where Ruto was angry because you took the loyal leadership to Uhuru and he was angry at you. So when's the last time you talked? Did you talk when he was still in government? Have you talked after he became president, or hamjaiongea kabisa?
We fell out in 2018. And that's after forming over the cabinet. Then they started campaigning. So we had this initiative of Luya Unity in Western. And it happened that we were just two ministers from Western, Rashid Echesa and I. Then Echesa was dropped. So I remained the only Luya minister in that government. So the approach I took was that I would work with all my brothers, regardless of which party they come from, for the sake of development.
Yeah.
And we engaged with Mudavadi, with Wetangula. We came together with all the 5 governors, and they came to my late brother's anniversary. I think it must have been in August 2018. And the resolution was that for the sake of development, we not care whether you are ODM or Jubilee. So we decided to work together, and they asked me to take them to the president. So I arranged an all Western leaders meeting at State House, and the president actually was very happy. He addressed them, addressed their concerns, and that led to the first Mashujaa Day celebration in the Western region.
Oh, okay.
Where the president came and we formed a task force. The biggest problem was, of course, the sugar sector issues. All our factories were going down, and the task force was formed. We came together. So all these things did not please Ruto, because he felt he had already started his 2018 campaign, and he knew that his pathway to the presidency was if he got Western and Central with the Rift Valley, then he would be able to. So when he saw me moving to secure Mudavadi and Wetangula towards our side, I think it really made him angry, and that's when we fell out. And he told me, this is my government with Uhuru, these mambo ya nonsense of Luya unity I don't want to hear. So that is how the difference started.
Oh, okay.
I got in a lot of trouble. In fact, he told me to hand in my resignation letter.
Who? Ruto?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I went to the president, to State House. I told him, boss, I've been told in my resignation letter. So Uhuru asked me, who is your appointing authority? Is it me or Ruto? That is how my relationship with Ruto ended. So I stopped going to Karen. There were meetings there. I stopped going to his functions. But later on, of course, he now came and looked for the same Mudavadi and the same Wetangula. And this is how that's how politics goes. And now he has come to Baba when things were not working. So he and Yohali, yes. But it was never personal. He felt my politics were getting into his way and pathway to the presidency. So that's what happened.
Yeah, but if we talk about tribal politics, the story is Luyas handed the presidency to Ruto because they tilted it. So was it Mudavadi, Wetangula, or Chebukati?
I'll say more Chebukati than the two, because if you look at the results of Western, the blue wave, the Azimio wave swept right from Kitale to Mbale. We swept actually almost all the seats. Yes, but Chebukati assisted. Yes.
Okay.
In some way.
Yeah, so tuko tushamaliza je ni 340 kama kawaida. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button, tell a friend to tell a friend. Tukimalizia 340 tukisema Iko Nini.
Iko Nini.
Iko Nini.